Okay, as for the guys who are with me today, you can see them on this picture and as well on the video. And I believe here is our agenda and what things we'll discuss today. So as for the Ucraft, yeah, first question I believe for you. First of all, yeah, surely it will be good if you'll introduce a bit Ucraft to our attendees, what the project does and how it currently goes, and also as we're talking about the QA processes, so how it was at the very beginning, yeah, how you started to organize the quality assurance testing process in Ucraft when you just launched or just was planning to launch the product.
Okay. First of all, a short introduction about what we do at Ucraft, and then we'll move to the QA processes for sure. Um, so Ucraft is a drag and drop website builder platform. It allows the designers, the hobbies, the freelancers, the marketing guys to create their web design needs, starting from a simple conversion page or a landing page to a more advanced website, and then they can move to even a more advanced e-commerce store. And a lot of people sometimes ask me, what's the difference between Ucraft and its competitors like Squarespace and Wix? I want to answer this to the point. The difference, I always compare them to cars. Like, we can ask the same question about the cars. What's the difference between a BMW and a Mercedes Benz or a Tesla? On a very high level, they look like each other. They all have wheels, they have the doors, you open, you sit, etc., and you start the car, etc. But when you go even deeper, they are quite different. And Ucraft is different with its overall experience, how you build websites. Also, using Ucraft tools, you can go really advanced and touch pretty much every single pixel within your website to either change its size or colors, etc., etc. And yeah, we do care about user experience and design overall, and provide all the tools that a designer would need to build that. But Ucraft is not only for designers, it's like also for marketing teams and agencies, etc. So we try to keep it relevant for different buyer personas. And now let me tell you a bit about how we did the QA processes within the team, within the project. We started back in 2015, and when we were just starting the development of the platform, we didn't have the QA team yet, and it was my own duty to create um, a competitive, or how to say, a solid QA team and QA processes. Um, the very first QA in my team was me. I was doing the testing of the very initial product, the MVP of Ucraft. But then when we started to grow, I thought that I would need a team that would be handling the manual tests and automation, and at the end of every development cycle, which we call sprints, we will also need manual team to do the regression test, etc., etc. So it was a little bit hard for me to find a pro team in my city. By the way, we are from Armenia. We live in Yerevan. We developed Ucraft mainly in Yerevan. it was a little bit hard for me to find the right QA guys in the city like instantly. So I decided to start working with a QA team as an outsource partner, or how you call it, as a partner. And I found you. I found QA Test Lab. Um, I think that there there was a few reasons why I chose QA Test Lab. The first reason was that um I found their website and their offer more relevant to startups like Ucraft. I also found their offer and their team more relevant to our platform. The content on their website, their offer was aligned very beautifully and very easy to understand on their website, and it was really easy for me to make that decision to start with you. And at the very beginning of our collaboration, Mike, which is who is the head of the one of the QA teams, am I right? Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, one of QA departments here.
Yeah, one of the QA departments here. He was initially working on the YouCraft team, and sorry. And one of the most important things that I found later as we started to work together was the way you guys were reporting me about like daily stand-up kind of thing, where you were telling, hey, today I have spent this much time on this much tasks, and these are done, these are not done, etc. All these daily and then weekly reports were really, really helpful. Uh, and I think we worked like around 2 years, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, maybe Mike has left the team at the middle of. I mean, not the team, the project at the middle. Yeah, Mike.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but then your colleagues joined instead of you, and you were managing the process on a high level. But yeah, you guys helped us to do that testing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gev, for such an intro, and thanks for the info about Ucraft again. What I can say from my perspective, when I just saw it for the first time, I thought, wow, cool. I am actually not a developer, not a designer, but with those drag and drop stuff, I can build whatever I want. Yeah, from like small online store to website. It's just cool. Yeah, in terms of our collaboration, it was an amazing experience, and we've been creating, trying to help, yeah, to grow. As for the challenges we both faced, I believe it's interesting topic to discuss. How it usually looks like, and also it will be interesting to know about how it was in Ucraft. I'll ask Mike, yeah, actually, first of all, about his experience and perspective of our work with startups. What are the main challenges which each startup faces when building QA process inside?
Before we continue, a few questions to Gev. I'm not sure that I know on what stage we joined your team. What stage of product it was? So it's very beginning.
You mean when we started working together?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was the very, very early stage where we had the MVP, and basically, uh, when we just started, like I guess 10 days before that, I completely removed the Ucraft core, to tell the truth. One day I came to the office and I was testing Ucraft, and I said, no, this is not the thing that I'm looking for, and this doesn't have the base, the quality base that I want to have. And I really removed that development. It was like development of 3 to 4 months. The whole development was removed by me.
Mhm.
I know that my team was unhappy with what I've done, but now if we just look back, I think that everyone is happy, except for the bugs.
And how many people you had in staff?
That time I had 20 guys in the team. Not all of them were developers. Some of them were developers. Some of them were marketing guys, QAs, maybe two. Um, yeah, designers, product owners, etc.
Yeah.
20 guys.
Okay, thank you. So I can move on, yeah? Stan.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Please tell us about those challenges.
Okay, I will talk about the three main challenges in the startups. Um, yeah, as you know, we're working with startups as well as with the indie companies in the game development, and help them to bring to the market high quality products. What about startups? It's not so easy as it seems. You might think that it's very simple to join startup team. It's the very beginning of the product. There are no QA processes at all, and there is no matter what you're doing from the QA side, anything is important. But here you are wrong. First, what I want to say that QA in startups, it's not something like in the bigger companies. It requires much work to do, and this situation connects to the nature of startups. And let's see why. I can say that the mm, when we are starting QA in startups, we must remember about 3 points. First is that QA in startups should be cost effective. It's the main one. The second one is startup should be oriented to use cases only at the first stages. And the third one is that QA team and QA at all in startups should be flexible. I will explain a little about these 3 points. So first one, that QA in startups should be cost effective. What is startup? It's no offense meant, but it's newly founded company with minimum of budget and with maximum of ideas and enthusiasm. So in general, startups do not have big capital, and in in the minority of cases, they could have some sales, but as usual not. So the price, it's core aspect for startups and its main limitation. So what should we do? First is prioritization. We should prioritize tasks accurately. Then we should analyze our productivity and always try to optimize our processes, QA processes in the startup. Do task only within your assignment. Do nothing for future use, because it could be waste of time. I will explain later why. And of course, QA providers should suggest agile cooperation model for the startup. The second point that I said, it's that QA in startup should be oriented to use cases, because delivery of low quality software is not the main main thing for startup fail. The main reason could be that nobody uses the product of the startup, and nobody cares about it. That, of course, that doesn't mean that you should focus just on the client, for example, in the startup. So we must perform some type of QA. So our clients should be pleased with the software. You should apply usual form of QA as well. So you should keep the balance. The usual form of QA, I'm talking about some GUI testing and functional tests. The idea is startup. What is the main idea of startup? The startup should strive to make its name, get feedback from the potential users, and when made happen, when software is useful, it's important for the users, and everything works as intended, like something like that. So as I said, when we started with QA in startups, we should be oriented on the use cases. And when we creating test coverage, for example, for the startup, we need to start with use cases, not from the cases like with all existing checks in the world, like that. The second one, we should not spend a lot of time for the documentation, because startup is kind of pilot project. We get in feedback from the users, and the strategy and goals may change greatly. So it could be a waste of time and money. And the second thing, that QA in startup should be flexible. A few words about it. Everything may happen. In case of closer release, we should to test everything as fast as we can and leave some time for dev team for bug fixes. If we, for example, find some critical issue and you need to perform a hot fix, we should be flexible here too. And it's just a couple of cases. Situations can be different, and they depends on the startup, like that. Thank you. I think it's all from my side.
Wow. You've been preparing, yep. Uh, okay, thank you very much. Really a lot of, I believe, true ideas. Actually, from my point, I believe Jeff could add something, but what I remember and interesting thing, which I just realized when we worked with Ucraft, part of Ucraft team, not only QA engineers, but also the guys from the other department, they've been involved to manual testing of the project, yeah, because I believe that's the thing which Mike has mentioned here, because the most important stuff is how the product looks from user perspective and about those use cases which should be created. And I believe that first users of every product is the team, yeah, which created this product, and that's how Ucraft used to make their product better and try to make it the best actually on the market. So that's an interesting stuff. Gev, from your perspective, what main troubles or problems have you faced at the very beginning when just trying to set up a QA process?
I think we received a question from Lucy. She's asking question for Gav, and the question is: they say there is no QA team in Agile. Do you think other specialists in the team could bring value to the team by QAing, or is this strictly a development team process?
Oh, it's a good one. So what do you think?
Did I answer this question now? Or
Sure. Yeah,
is this on the Q&A session?
yeah, it's okay. We can answer it now. It's we already
Okay.
know this question, so feel free to answer.
Okay. So yeah, here are my thoughts. So I believe that there is a product team behind the product. Yeah, They know what they want their product to do. They know where they want to be in the future, in a month, in 3 months, in a year. They know they should know what their customers are looking for, what problem they are solving, etc. So I believe the product team itself, not the development team, but the product team itself is the biggest QA of the product at the early stages. And I also believe that they are the biggest QAs of the product, even the late stages, not only the early stages, because um, uh, even nowadays, where we have a bigger QA team and a bigger product team, sometimes we face a situation like this where there is a sprint. We work with Agile and Scrum, especially. So during the during the sprints, let's imagine there are 25 stories to be done by the team. The QA team is testing each and every story within the sprint, and they, let's say, mark it as done. But that doesn't mean that basically all those stuff are working smoothly within the rest of the app. So here is where people are doing the regression stuff. And I believe that our product team is the best regression, is the best manual QA team that is doing regression. Again, they won't be able to do the manual QA hard work for each and every branch, each and every user story. But when it comes to test Ucraft from users' perspectives and how it will work for this or that customer group, I believe that the product team should be involved in the QA processes as well. Maybe the company won't take that as a QA, as a part of a QA process, because we want to keep everything adjusted. Like QA team is involved in the QA processes, but the product team is involved in the overall, I don't know, products quality, quality everyday job. And yeah, so the quick answer to the question is yes. Anyone else in the team who is interested in the quality of the product should be involved in that, but I won't call it a QA process. I would still keep the QA process with the QA team. This is the general product testing process.
Yeah, thanks for the detailed answer. And yeah, as for the actually things we are discussing, when YouCraft has started to grow, yeah, when you received more users, when you received more challenges for your development team, the product got more functionality and became more specific. I believe the approaches to quality assurance to testing processes had to change as well, yeah, and how it was changing. You just grew up the team who is involved in QA processes, or how it was for YouCraft?
Yeah. We basically currently do the Ucraft testing mostly in-house. There are also some other QA enthusiasts that love testing Ucraft, and they help us on a daily basis. Um, they are getting paid for sure, but they are doing that on mostly and on their own enthusiasm. And um, yeah, this is how we do now at Ucraft. We do sprints on 2 week basis. Okay, each sprint is 14 days. On the very first 2 days, the team is doing the grooming session with the product owner, and then the grooming session with the product owner and the QA team. They speak together like something like this. I'm showing a scenario. Let's say the product owner is telling, "Hey, we want to create an integration between uh, PayPal as a payment method and the app, so that our customers can pay using PayPal." Let's imagine a situation like this, and the team is doing the grooming session where they ask away different questions they have in their minds about that very story. Let's imagine, oh, will we be using the PayPal's redirect method, or we want to use the PayPal's embed method, or whatever it is, and they start to groom on that topic. And the next day, that was the first day of the 14 day, the first day. The second day, the team is doing the planning, where they estimate the tasks, they assign the tasks to the appropriate people within the development team, and it takes another day. So it basically, we now have 2 days spent from the sprint time frame, and we have 12 days left for the whole sprint. And on the very beginning of the third day, the development team starts the development. They already have the answers to their questions. They have done the grooming. They have done the sprint planning, and now they started to do the development. And we, for the last few months, we also have Scrum Masters joining the sprints, because we believe that we need to give the product owners enough time to think about the next sprint. So Scrum Masters are helping the team members, the development teams, to do the daily stand-ups, to answer their minor and major questions during the development phase. And basically, the whole development within the sprint takes about 7 business days, working days. But when you take that sprint as a whole thing, like after 7 business days, you will have around 10 days, no, sorry, 12 days, 12 days already spent in the sprint, and it's only 2 days left for the sprint to end. And this is where the most important phase is coming. We do a thing called dev freeze, development freeze, where no one else is doing any new stuff in the sprint. This is what we have. The QA team had already done the manual testing of every user story within the sprint, and now all these stories came to one location, and we did the dev freeze. And now the QA team and the product team all together are doing the regression test. They see if those 20 stories work great together on the same level, on the same place, in the same place. And the product team is checking out whether everything is fine from the product's perspectives. Yeah. And at the end of the sprint, if the QA team and the product team say that this sprint is good to go, we slowly push that thing to live. This is the general process we work at YouCraft.
Yeah, thank you very much. Quite well organized process. Yeah, Mike, you have something?
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. I have a quick question to Gav. We're talking about QA in the startups. Your clients and QA process. So, do they help you to improve your software? Do they report issues, for example, or give you any good thoughts to how you can improve your software, how you use it, how close you to your clients here in this point?
Okay. Yeah, that's a really, really good question, because I believe that one of the biggest testers of UCraft are our customers and our community. Uh, yeah, we take into consideration each and every feedback or submitted issue that might occur during the overall like support sessions within the customers. But here's how we do: we support our customers um, through two different channels. Okay, one is a private chat that is available in YouCraft platform, like on the website, or if you are already a signed up customer and you are building a website in the tool itself, there is a chat button on the bottom right corner of the website, so our customers can click and ask a question away. And in some cases, they are also submitting some issues or bugs or feature requests to improve the product. But we also have a section on the website called community section. It's running under community.ucraft.com, and people are trying to help each other on the community platform, and they are asking questions publicly, and others are answering those questions publicly. So uh, so yeah, we do have those two channels. And what we do every day, our support team um, our support team, they gather all the issues and everything that they received from chat, from community, etc., etc. They gather in a list and they pass every day to the product team. If there is something critical, then they might already have opened a ticket to the on the board that our development team is working with, and yeah, all this feedback and submissions come to the product team, and then it gets prioritized and it gets submitted to the team for either a fast resolution or a slower development if that's an improvement or a feature request.
I think you have a lot of issues from your customers, from your clients, and you have a strong support team.
Yeah, we were receiving. Yeah, I think Ucraft is famous for its support team. I mean, when I'm reading the feedback that users are leaving publicly on third-party websites like, I don't know, Copterra or Trustpilot or G2 Crowd, you will find there that they are really, really happy with our support team. And the number of requests that we were receiving before was really high, because the product was new, and we had a lot of missing stuff there, and we had also some places where we had some stuff not really working well for the customers. But now it's not like that. Now we still receive requests and submissions and issues for sure, but their quantity decreased a lot because teams like you helped us with that.
Thank you, Gav.
Yeah, thanks, Gav. Thanks, Mike, for the question, by the way. And the next point to speak about stages to set up in-house QA team. You already mentioned that, yeah, at this stage you are mainly working with in-house QA, involving from time to time the support from outside, but yet the main part is organized in-house. When you came to this idea, when it became more, I don't know, more effective to work with in-house, mainly in-house team, and what is the good stage for startup to change this approach?
I think I would just answer from our perspectives. I don't want to say how other startups should do because it's everyone's own decision to move from a remote team to an in-house team. But in our case, when we grew from 0 customer to, I guess it was like 40,000 customers, I decided to create an in-house QA team just to make sure that the sprint and I mean the communication during the sprint is done in a more efficient way. I'm not telling that when we were working together, I'm not telling that there was a lack of communication between us, but I believe that there was a gap, um, a gap between what the remote QA team thinks he needs to do and the in-house development team is actually doing. And it was really difficult to connect the development team with the QA team, like not to connect, but to like integrate like this. And I myself was integrated enough with the QA team, for example, with your team, but my involvement in that was not that much important when it comes to the sprint development. So the short answer is that when we grew enough with our customer base and when we became bigger, then I thought that I would need an in-house team. Yeah, that was the main reason I moved from remote to an in-house team, just to keep the communication within the team during the sprints more like I don't know, productive, or how you say.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it's closer communication. Yeah, it's really important, especially when it's really quick development process and quickly changing requirements. It's quite useful solution, yeah, to have as much team in house as it's possible, yeah, because it shall speed up and at the same time simplify the process in some particular cases, surely. Um, Mike,
Yeah.
from our perspective, how do you think? I believe you've been working with some projects for startups as well, and at what stage it usually comes to hiring an in-house team or to some mixed solutions? I don't know, when there is remote team plus in-house team, when it comes to when there is a reason for startup to do it. According to our practice, as Gev mentioned, surely there is no effective solution for all startups. Everyone has its own way.
And I'm absolutely agree with Gav here. As he mentioned, he had no possibility to grow up a professional QA team in the early stages of his product. So he asked us as a service provider to help him with the QA. But then he received that possibility and create own QA department. As for our perspective, I think that there is no solution, for example, to join on very early stages or in the middle or before the release, for example. It depends on the even budgets, the location where the startup is situated. What I can say that QA should be set it up as early as it possible, because in the traditional projects, it should be something between usable project and useful project, software as you want. But in the startups, as earlier we will set up QA processes, the better it should be.
Thanks, Mike. Quite good one. Some tips for from you guys to for new businesses, yeah, when setting up a QA team. I know you already gave some during this webinar, but let's say top three things to do or not to do in terms of setting up QA for your team. Let us start from Jeff.
Are you asking? Is the question like top tips?
Yeah. On setting up
Okay.
a QA quality assurance team for your project.
Okay. A few tips. A few tips to set up a QA process. Like on a very general level, we already speak those tips what to do. But when we go like on even deeper, I would suggest for the people to keep their working process with the QA team like more so-called documented when it comes to the sprint stories, plannings, etc. I highly recommend the product teams, the product owners, or the project owners, or how we call like different teams called differently. But I personally recommend every product team to clearly assign subtasks to the QA team for every story. When I say subtask, I mean one subtask for a manual QA to test a specific story. And maybe if you run an automation framework or you develop an automation framework, then I think it's also a useful thing to create subtasks for your stories that are worth to be automated as well. So a single subtask for an automation task can be really helpful. I believe that the product team should write down the acceptance criteria for the stories. It will help the QA teams to know better what should be tested and what is accepted, what is not, in order to provide with a better quality. But it also helps the development team to understand what the QA team is expecting from them for this or that specific user story. And I also believe that a thing called definition of done is an important thing. Like the team should define when this task can be considered to be done, like definition of done. Let's say we have tested the task from the functional perspectives. Then this is a checkbox like this. We have compared the design files with the end result, and this is done. We have checked with the marketing team, and the content within this story is correctly written and it's well aligned on the interface, and this is done. And some other points that define the story or the task to be done or not. So yeah, it's also called DOD. The short version is DOD, the definition of done. Yeah, and the last thing that I'm just telling, the tips that I'm telling is something that I myself suffered some time ago. So I want to pass this to the team, to the guys here that are taking part in this webinar today. I also believe that sometimes people are writing automation frameworks, but on a weekly sprint basis, they sometimes don't have enough time, the team doesn't have enough time, enough knowledge, or enough or enough environments to run the automation in a more effective way. Let's say you have 5,000 cases automated on your platform, and now you have done a slight change on the platform. Let's say let's imagine there is a powered by badge that was just developed, and it's tested, everything is fine, but sometimes the team forgets to run the automation framework, which is how to say, which is the most valuable thing that startup could have, an automation, well written and well aligned automation framework. So the tip is, don't forget to run your automation. Don't forget to run your automation on a daily basis. Yeah, we know that you don't need to remember that. You can write an automation to run that automation. But when I'm saying don't forget to run, I mean to run and then to analyze the results the automation framework can give you back. Yeah, so as a short recap, here are the 4 tips. Define the acceptance criteria, set the definition of done thing. Always, for every task, do the definition of done. Run your automation frameworks. Don't forget to run and analyze your automation frameworks. And the first thing was, I forgot. The first thing was, I forgot. Or it was 3.
Yeah, it's even 4, and it's very detailed ones. Thank you very much for explaining. I totally agree. I don't know, Mike, any tips from you which you would like to add?
Just several advices. I think that we have some listeners from the QA sphere. I hope that we have here some QA managers, and some tips from QA manager that you should analyze. You should analyze your work. You should analyze what are you doing. You should suggest improvements. You should be proactive. You should think about money as your own, and yeah, three advices from my perspective when you're working with startups.
Thanks, Mike. And yes, for Q&A, I guess we have some questions. Yep, Gav already answered a question from Lucy. And as well, Gav, a question for you from Ostap. What's better for startup, to bet on test automation or manual testing should be enough? I believe you already mentioned that automation is quite important thing. But yeah, maybe you have something to add.
Let me read the Gav. What is better for startup to bet on test automation or manual should be enough? Um, I could say that manual should be enough if the product is really it's a small product. It doesn't have like a lot of integrations and etc. etc. I believe that on on the very early stages, the manual testing should be enough. But as you grow, you will start feeling that a single team of QAs wouldn't be able to go through the test cases uh, and test every single case and make sure everything is working fine. That's why this automation thing started to roll into the lives of companies and service providers and software providers. And I believe test automation, having a solid test automation framework and foundation is a really, really important thing for a startup or even for bigger companies.
Yeah, sounds good. From my side, yeah, I can say that usually the combination of manual and test automation is something each project needs, and if at the very beginning, very beginning, manual testing could be enough, but as bigger and as more stable your project becomes, you need test automation, and it should take its place surely. Yeah, Eric says that webinar is informative. Thank you, Eric, for watching. We try to do everything possible to make it useful. And the question from Maria, question to all. Where there is no documentation in startup, how can remote QA know if it's a bug or feature? And what functions should be tested first? Mm, yeah, guys.
I can answer. I think I answered this question already. What I was telling is that um, in the top tips where to set, like, please pay attention to have acceptance criterias. Like when you have acceptance criterias, you know what is accepted, you know what to test, etc. But also before the acceptance criterias, I forgot, I guess, to mention is the um, the overall test case definition, like what should be tested and how should be tested. So a uh, test case and the acceptance criteria, and maybe at the end the definition of done thing would really answer to Maria's question.
Thank you for the answer, Gev. Mike, from a QA manager's perspective, what do you think about this?
On the very early stages, as we usually do, there is no documentation, for example, no test cases, nothing. And we had such thing with Gev and his team. We just had some calls, some quick chats where we asked these questions and we defined what it's was okay, what's not, and from the QA team, they should write this information and write should note this information to the test cases. So they're asking questions and building test coverage. They build in this test documentation. It's not enough just to ask. for example, to check and to forget. You should know this, and you should not ask this question again in future. You should put it on the cases. In the cases. Sorry.
Thanks, Mike. I hope it will be useful for the QA teams on the projects, for especially for startups when usually there is some kind of lack of documentation. Um, yeah, and the question from Daniel, I believe for both of you, but mainly to Gev. Yeah, how much time did it took for Ucraft to integrate QA test lab to the dev team?
I think there are some different levels of integrations between a startup and the QA team. In our case, I think after 15 to 20 days, the QA test lab guys were already bringing value to the team by submitting their issues and bugs, etc. But I can say that overall, the manual testing and automation altogether were deeply integrated into YouCraft, I guess, after 45 days. That's what I think, that's what I remember. What do you think, Mikhail?
It was long ago, but as I remember, it was more than 2 weeks. Yes, we worked and we tried to integrate it to a team, but it was long ago. I'm not sure that I'm correct now.
Yeah, but it was something like around a month, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so because yeah, first of all, for our attendees, it's important to differentiate, yeah, to see the difference between just the start of the project and real integration when the QA team starts to bring some value to the project. And yeah, in such case, the first thing is to start quickly, but the second is to bring some additional value to the team. And yeah, it usually takes like, I guess, from 2 weeks to 1 month, sometimes more, if we are talking about integration of test automation team who has to connect with dev team, with current product team to maybe start organization of some continuous integration process and the team's integration, the KU team's integration to it. So it takes really sometimes, yeah, even more than a month, as Gev mentioned, for this stuff. Yeah, thanks for the answer, says Maria. Thank you, Maria, for attending. We are glad to see you. Um, okay, guys, I believe that's the main. I have to say thank you for all the visitors here, for all the guys who came here instead of Easter, instead of holidays and Friday. Thank you for joining. I hope it was useful for you. In case of any questions, you saw the contact details. You feel free to come to Gev, to Mike, or to me, or to our companies and speak with us directly. Yeah, thank you very much, Mike, for finding the time. Thank you, Gev, for joining. I hope Ucraft journey and the Ucraft story will be really helpful for those ones who begin the business or who already is in it. It's quite useful for everyone. Thank you, guys. We will finish it.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Gav.